All year long, Five on Your Side has dispatched reporters to cities across the country searching for solutions that could possibly work right here in St. Louis. We went looking for the best return on investment from federal COVID funds and the Rams settlement money.
But what happens when those funds run out? Tonight, our political editor, Mark Maxwell, is searching for solutions in New Orleans, where he found engineers tapping into new pots of money to draw blueprints for the future of an historic city.
We've explored the challenges shrinking cities face when people pack up and move out. In Detroit, they got to work racing to knock down vacant properties. But in New Orleans, many of those old buildings have deep roots and often deeper meaning. A German immigrant named Grunwald built this hotel in 1893, just in time for upcoming Mardi Gras celebrations.
This is an important piece of real estate in New Orleans.
Owners later named it in honor of President Teddy Roosevelt for building the Panama Canal, bringing a bustling boomtown through the port city, and thirsty workers downtown where bartenders served the city's iconic cocktail.
So you're in a very famous bar in New Orleans called the Sazerac Bar.
We met the Roosevelt's general manager, Todd Chambers, in the same bar where another infrastructure champion would come along not long after. Governor Huey Long used to drink here.
So, you know, it's steeped with history.
Those pages tell stories of struggles and setbacks in a city founded before the nation itself. A city that stood strong until disaster struck in 2005.
You certainly don't want a Katrina to happen to your city, but billions of dollars came into New Orleans to help kind of refresh the city of New Orleans.
But even with all the federal aid, historic buildings like this one sat vacant for years. Then the housing crash hit, driving values lower.
When they bought this hotel, it was an enormous risk.
Other cities with similar problems, vacant properties with prices underwater, might benefit from the strategy they used here.
Of course, we were using historic tax credits to do the work. And St. Louis certainly qualifies for a city that's got a lot of history in it.
The vibrant culture and rich history of New Orleans is what draws so many people here for the first time. But it's that same rich history that may hold the keys to the city's future.
Without tax credits, we couldn't have redone this hotel.
Developers used a combination of state and federal historic tax credits to preserve the building's storied past.
And we had to make sure we adhered to the way the place is supposed to look, feel, smell, you know, from back in those wonderful days.
Without public funds,
you just couldn't have done it. There was no way to make those numbers work. So it allowed us to take this grand old historic hotel, completely fix it, you know, modernize it, and reopen it.
That grand reopening breathed life back into parts of town people had left empty.
This was the catalyst that actually grew back the rest of this area, including our theater district. They were still all shuttered when we redeveloped this hotel.
And the strategy is catching on all over town. Developer Marcel Wisnia had blueprints in place when the pandemic hit.
We had to problem solve.
The problem?
When we look at the impact of what we're dealing with today in this world post-COVID, one of the major impacts that we see is that brick and mortar retail is not expanding.
So they flipped the bottom floor of this building into a boutique hotel and bar. And in this one, drew up plans to create a mixed-use living space. Instead of companies renting shared co-working office space, people could split the cost of housing. You might call it co-living.
We thought we were, creating this new thing, and then we researched it, and it's trending around the globe.
With the cost of 1- and 2-bedroom apartments soaring out of reach for most people early in their career, Dan Weiner designed an alternative to micro-housing, workforce housing, with more people sharing the cost of a larger space.
And it's also downtown living that's affordable. And it's all very forward-thinking that it's all on your phone, everything's included in your rent, including a cleaning service once a week.
Especially after the pandemic left people scattered and isolated, Weiner found this design built a road home, inviting more social living and solving another problem for employers downtown.
But having a hard time filling restaurant jobs and hotel jobs. Part of the reason is you can't afford to live near your job. So then you gotta own a car and live out, kind of in the burbs. So we wanted to create a housing type to get workforce people living downtown.
The end result? Old historic buildings revived with a new lease on life.
We don't look at New Orleans as a museum. We look at it as a living history.
Mark Maxwell, 5 on Your Side.
And next week, we find creative ways New Orleans unlocked affordable housing and built a road home for artists who help revive the city's vibrant spirit.